Welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We are here with experienced innovation speaker, Braden Kelley. He's a workshop facilitator. He is a customer experience specialist. He's the author of Charting the Change and Stoking Your Innovation Bonfire. So we are going to be talking with Braden today about so many cool things. We're going to be talking about customer and employee experience. We're going to be talking about loyalty, archaeology, and design thinking, and so much more. So Braden, glad to be talking to you.
Yeah, glad to be talking with you, Robert.
Super cool. So can you tell us what you're all about, what's your focus, what's your passion, what has you fired up these days?
Yeah, so for a number of years, I have been focused on trying to make innovation insights accessible for the greater good. So a while ago, I started a website that was focused on the topic of innovation that grew into a site called innovationexcellence.com that then I sold. And along the way, I wrote a book called Stoking Your Innovation Bonfire and another called Charting Change, because really, if you think about it, innovation is all about change. And so, I started creating tools to help people navigate the complicated and scary place of staring at a blank page of a project charter and figure there had to be a better way. So I started creating a whole suite of tools that people could use that are much more visual, much more collaborative for planning and executing change to literally get everyone all on the same page.
Well, super cool. So when we're talking about like innovation, to me that means like 7 different things at once. So what does innovation mean exactly?
Yes. So the way that I like to talk about it is that innovation transforms the useful seeds of invention into widely adopted solutions valued above every existing alternative. And there's a couple key tensions there. There's the tension between invention and innovation. They're not the same thing. There's the tension between useful and valuable. You can create something that's really useful. A new mousetrap. People create thousands of them every year, but still most of us buy the same one when we go to the hardware store. And there's also the key fact that for something to progress to become an innovation, it has to become widely adopted. It has to displace the existing solution. And I think that oftentimes people overuse the word. And don't give it the respect that it deserves, so to speak, because they look at it more in terms of creativity or invention. And innovation is really hard work. It takes a lot of time to tick all those boxes to create something that's not just useful but valuable, to create something that's widely adopted, and to create something that will displace the existing solutions.
So there are those 4 factors, and that's interesting to think about because you're right. That's thrown around so much as if just, I had an idea and I invented this thing. Well, no, you had a few thoughts. Well, I innovated this. Well, you didn't really create anything yet. And even if you did, it had not been widely adopted, had not displaced the marketplace and all those other things. So that's interesting to think about. And so that's cool that we have that kind of concrete definition so that way we know kind of like when it's overused to the point where it becomes meaningless, now we have given meaning back to it again. And so to really get our heads wrapped around this, do you have any fun innovation stories where maybe there was like some drama, some excitement, and someone in the end, some company or client you've had has made the innovation game work? Anything come to mind?
Well, some of the things I really like to talk about is, number one, that innovation is for everyone, that it's not whether you're innovative or not. It's not whether you have the innovator's DNA or not. I think that's all BS. We all have a role to play in innovation. And that's why I created the 9 innovation roles, which are featured in the book. And also there's a lot of free tools around this idea, including a card design that I make available for free for people to download and print out with their favorite printer, tarot-sized cards with the 9 roles on them. But that's the first thing, is it's a collaborative activity. The second thing is that it takes time. And if you look at any major innovation, you have to go back 20, 30, sometimes even 50 years to where that idea truly started. So if you look at something like Twitter, that's like 100-year-old idea that started in the train stations of London. Back in the early 1900s. If you look at Gorilla Glass, before it became one of the de facto standards for flat screen televisions and mobile phones and things like that, that technology was invented 50 years ago. So that's sometimes a hard thing for people, is that timing is a factor in innovation, and going too big too soon can cost you a lot of money. And of course, coming to the game late can also cost you money. But it's not just about the value creation, about the creativity and the invention part, but it's also, there's two other components that I talk about, which are value access and value translation. Value access is really all about helping people get to that value that you've created. And so that can be the services that you wrap around a product, that can be the friction that you look to reduce and making it easy to unlock that value through good design and other things like that. And then the value translation is really all about helping people understand how this new thing is going to fit into their lives, and help them get over that barrier to adoption as well. And so you can create something really, really cool and do that value creation piece really well. But if you fall down on those value access and value translation components, then you can still fail. And I think that's another thing that people miss out on.
Yeah, so if that does make sense, how you kind of have, this isn't just made up, you have these rules, so that way it's like if you're not on your way to innovation, then you know that you need to apply these factors and things like that. So I mean, what else do we need to know about this? Because I feel like we're kind of getting really abstract, and I love hearing about like some company that you've helped, or some kind of idea that you helped make a reality. So is there something like that from your history, from your own personal experience, that you want to share with us about innovation?
Yeah, so I think that when it comes to innovation, it's oftentimes looking for those weak signals and trying to amplify those into something really meaningful. And to be successful, if you can get yourself out in front of a trend, you can deliver a lot of value for people. So I've done a number of different things throughout my career, done a lot of things before they had a term for them. So back in my early career, I was involved with building Symantec's first web-based technical support and customer service capabilities. When it looked like this thing called the internet was going to catch on. And the way that we approached the launch of those capabilities, we're using human-centered problem-solving techniques and agile techniques before agile was a thing and before design thinking was a thing. And also another stop along the way, I worked with a company that is now part of vrbo.com, back when that was just one of the many vacation rental by owner sites that was out there, to do content marketing before content marketing was a thing, to do social sharing on websites, social commerce before that was a thing. And so, if you put the customer at the center, and if you put the jobs that they're trying to get done, and if you put yourself in your customer's shoes, not just shoe, hopefully, I mean, some people only have one, but the key is to really try to drill down to where the value comes from, the job that somebody's trying to get done. And in doing those kinds of things and looking for those signals, sometimes you can arrive before others arrive, but not so early that nobody has any idea what you're doing.
And you mentioned that concept a few times of how important the timing is. It's possible to be too late. That's on its own obvious, but then it's also easy to be too early. Like, what if cell phones or fax machines were invented in the 1970s? And that's the kind of thing where they've tried that back in the day and those decades, and it was just too soon for the adoption, for the technology, for who knows whatever the reason is. And so it's interesting to think about. And so and that's one thing I'm getting from you, is that the timing is really important, and that maybe it's important for those of us entrepreneurs to really take risks and try things out and be thinking about where people will be and not where they're right now, be forward thinking and things like that. And so it's a lot to think about. It's some heavy stuff. And I can tell that you've given a lot of thought. And just kind of for fun, what do you think is like one of the best innovations of all time? Because like for example, like when Netflix first came out, the whole idea of like you pay a monthly fee, but then you can have the same number of DVDs out, and it kind of works either way. It works if you use it all the time, but it also works if you just let the DVDs sit there. And Mike, whoever thought of that idea, should just
Uh-huh.
be allowed to retire, because my mind was blown when I kind of thought through that. So is there anything like that similar with you? Is there like the one of the best ideas you've ever heard of?
Yeah, I mean, I look at it very deeply, and go back really really far when people ask me that kind of question. So I look back to things like paper. If you look at the invention of paper, whoever came up with the idea of creating paper not only allowed people to go from chiseling things into clay tablets, and or putting things up on a wall, but having the ability to make things portable. I mean, without paper, you wouldn't have fax machines, for example. You wouldn't have copy machines. You wouldn't have the printing press. You wouldn't have Bibles. You wouldn't have, a number of different things, because before, paper came along, then if you wanted to create a second book, you would have to hire somebody to transcribe character by character one book to another. And the materials for creating the book were much much different, and much less applicable for mass production. And so, people talk about the printing press, but the printing press only works because of paper.
That is mind blowing. That is cool to think about. That there are many of these innovations that we have taken for granted just because they've been with us for centuries. But sometimes innovation A opens the door for innovations B, C, and D. Like paper just makes all these other things possible. And so this is all super cool to think about. But the only way that it hurts my head is when we get too abstract. So I think that people need to go to a website. They need to get your book. They need to really jump in, because you and me here, we're just kind of talking about ideas, but they need some real help with wherever they're stuck with their innovation, like you said, with their personal life or with their business. So can you tell us about where we should go next, about your websites and your books and what makes them so unique and special, even though you dug in a little bit, but can you give us like the hard sales pitch for go to my website, get my books right now, not later, because timing is so important? What do you have?
Well, I have a number of different websites for people to go to. They're all linked off of bradenkelley.com, which is the main website. And if you want to jump straight to the information about the 9 roles, if you just put the number 9 and the word roles, all one word.com, that'll take you right to the page all about that. If you want more than 600 downloadable quote posters for with innovation quotes and change quotes and things like that for your meetings, your presentations, your workshops and things like that, if you go to the word Mr. spelled out innovation.com, that'll take you right to the page with all those downloads. There's a lot of great content on bradenkelley.com. You can find direct links to the 2 books, Stoking Your Innovation Bonfire and Charting Change, and then also access to free downloadable tools for innovation, for change, and information about the change planning toolkit, which is a suite of more than 70 tools to visually and collaboratively plan and execute change, on posters in a meeting room, or even online virtually using tools like Miro or Mural or Lucid Spark or Microsoft Whiteboard.
I love it. So bradenkelley.com is the place to get all those resources. And you always hear, Braden, about how important it is to like decorate your space with some of these things to kind of always keep the mind going. Like, I think, don't they say like have a lot of blue or something like that, because it turns on the creativity in the brain. And so that's why these resources that you've mentioned are so cool, because we can print these out, we can put these up, and always be having the mental gears turning, so that way we can, as you say, change and invent and innovate. And all those things mean different things, but they're all important ingredients for your future success. So that way you stand out, you have a massive legacy, and you don't just blend in, and you're not just another person in the crowd. You're not just some other failing business. You're a business that really takes off, that has the next Netflix idea, the next Uber idea, the next paper idea. So the place to go is bradenkelley.com. That is BradenKelley.com. That's bradenkelley.com, and get access to all those innovation tools and resources, all those cool things that Braden mentioned. That way you can just pick exactly what is necessary for you right here, right now. bradenkelley.com is the place to go. And thank you, Braden, for stopping by. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great chatting with you, Robert. Hope you have a great rest of the week and keep innovating.
Yes.